nobili pentru a-și asigura victoria. Zhuge Liang, consilier militar al suveranului statului Shu, se bucura de mare faimă datorită rezultatelor obținute în bătăliile pe care le-a condus, păcând spaimă în comandanții trupelor celorlalte două state. La întâlnirea cu Zhuge Liang, aceștia din urmă manifestau totdeauna o mare prudență de teamă de a nu fi înfrânți. Într-una din zile, Zhuge Liang, în fruntea unei armate colosale, a pornit o nouă expediție spre nord împotriva statului Wei. Pentru a-i ține piept, statul Wei a mobilizat cele mai puternice forțe de care dispunea. Pe timpul împofuncărilor sale, s-a îmbolnăvit și nu... Виктор Юго в письме капитану Бат от 25 ноября 1861 года писал о нападении Англии и Франции. Так, однажды двое бандитов ворвались в летний дворец. Один разграбил его, другой поджег. Один набивал карманы, другой, глядя на него, наполнил сундуки. И оба, взявшись за руки, довольные вернулись в Европу. Позже правительством Китая были приняты меры по восстановлению Юань-Миньвена. Однако в начале 20-го столетия в ходе очередной войны дворец был разрушен войсками Альянса 8 государств. Долгое время бывшее жилище императоров пустовало и было популярно среди мародеров. В очередной раз за его реставрацию взялись лишь спустя 100 лет. Уважаемые слушатели, сегодня мы говорим о пекинском парке Юань-Миньвен. Далее предлагаю послушать песню «Вернуться в прошлое» в исполнении Лэн Вань-Вань.
You've lived here for 10 years and you've lived here for 3 years. I'm guessing you haven't been to every part of Beijing, right?
Not even close.
Right. And you probably never will.
No.
Yeah, I know, I understand what you mean. But at the same time, and this is how I feel, you know, the population in Beijing is about 21.5 million, roughly. It doesn't, and this is what you were saying, Yo Honglin, I think, is that it doesn't really feel like that. The traffic gets bad sometimes, you know, Friday night if you're trying to go downtown or something like that. But you don't necessarily get this huge overcrowded feeling because of the geographical space. It's such a huge city, north to south and east to west, so it doesn't feel like that. I said, as the lead, you know, we'll give you 3,000 reasons to visit this 3,000-year-old city. There's so much history here. And I wonder, you know, being from China, what are some of your favorite parts of Beijing's history? I want to know.
To be honest, I don't have a particular favorite period of Beijing's history, but I do appreciate some of the historical elements that have been preserved. For example, Beijing's central axis, which was listed as a World Heritage Site or World Heritage last year, and also the hutongs, or that alleys that carry the unique character of the city. These make the city even more charming and full of life.
Sorry to interrupt. The hutongs are all different, or do they kind of have a similar vibe to them, would you say?
I think they have similar vibes because if you're thinking about alleys, you have alleys everywhere. Yet the vibe comes from the details, like if you're walking in an alley with really high walls, or if you're walking in an alley that is not that thin, yet the constructions besides or in the block are also not that 2, 3, 4. It's not that high. And also you do not see a lot of decoration on the walls. They have this relatively unified kind of antique, a little bit antique look. So I think that is what I was also trying to express when I say Beijing can be very different. It's because different district, different area would have different vibes.
Oh, 1,000% true. Yeah, if you're in the central business district of Beijing, if you're in that downtown area, I remember asking when I moved here, so where's downtown? And my coworkers were like, because there's about 30 downtown.
Right.
So how do you answer that question? But if you are in the central business district, you would feel like you were standing in the middle of Manhattan, to be honest with you.
A little bit.
Right? It's got that very modern feel to it. And then you go a couple of subway stops away, and you can get out and go to a hutong, which feels like you're stepping back hundreds, if not 1,000 years. It's got that really old feel to it. The hutong that I visited, it was a lot of shops that sold little trinkets for tourists and things like that. But you had that, so it had that element to it, but it also just had the element of, oh, this is where stuff used to happen. You know, this is where communities lived. This wasn't a shopping district a few hundred years ago. This is a community. Right. And you get that sense in the hutongs when you're walking around as well, which is one of the wonderful things, is that those are so close to each other. They're right next to each other, the modern and the old coexisting. How about for you, Honglin? What do you think some of your favorite parts of Beijing's history?
Well, I think one wonderful thing about Beijing is that it doesn't change so drastically that you do not recognize it anymore. Because we are in our 20s, 30s, and we used to, for example, watch a lot of TV shows, watch a lot of movies that are actually made in Beijing, and you still recognize the kind of vibe, the accents, the way people walk, the kind of little fruit and vegetable stalls on the side of the street. We do not no longer see many of those anymore, yet the construction, the buildings, and the accent, and even the dressing style of relatively elder generation stays the same. So when you arrive in Beijing as a tourist, you still recognize what you've seen in movies, in TV shows, and that is really easy for you to be related to the city in an emotional way.
That makes sense, yeah. Can I ask this question? You know, because being a Canadian, we don't have a lot of history in our country. Our country's very, very young. But China has so many thousands of years of history. As a student in class, taking history class in Canada was easy. It's very short, right? But in China, when you take history class, I wonder how there's so much to learn. I wonder if students are just like, oh no, please, no more history classes, or is it just something that you study all through the years in school and just continue to learn?
Yeah, first of all, history is one of the compulsory programs that you need to study from primary school to middle school and then high school. And through all of these years, I remember we would study modern history, first of all, and then ancient history, and then also world history. So you...
模式，联合工商银行、支付宝以及国民信托，通过设立监管账户，保证消费者的预付款不被商家直接接触，旨在从源头上遏制商家的不诚信行为。支付平台产品经理赵宇峰告诉记者，这就像是给消费者的钱加了一道保险锁。
它意味着就是所有消费者购卡之后的资金，它最终会进入到商家他和信托公司在线签署完合同之后，进入到商家在信托的金管账户里面。那么在消费者使用一笔之后，中商银行和人民银行最终结算给到商家。所以目前是这么一个资金链路。所以从这个角度上来讲，本身信托是具备了防司法冻结和资产隔离的这种能力，所以说也能够在很大程度上保障消费者的购卡和资金安全。